right, Commissioners, I have 3 o'clock. So we're going to start today's HHS meeting. First item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise and recite the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 3, need a motion to adopt today's agenda.
Romano adopts the agenda. Drollet supports.
Okay, I have Commissioner Romano, Commissioner Drollet. Please vote.
That motion passes 10-0.
Thank you. Item number 4, approval of the minutes. I have A, February 18th, B, June 23rd, and C, July 14th of 2020. Would anyone like to do them all together?
Motion A through C to approve.
Support Carabelli.
Okay, support Carabelli. Motion by Commissioner Haw. Please vote.
That motion passes 10-0.
Thank you. Item number 5, public participation. Any members of the public wishing to speak, you have 5 minutes on any item on today's agenda. So please announce yourself by pressing *6. If there's any members of the public wishing to speak, going once. Any members of the public wishing to speak, press *6, going twice. And third and final time, any members for public participation? Hearing none, we'll close public participation, go to item 6, department recommendations. Item A, contract with Peridium Removal Service.
Paradigm for motion to approve.
All right, thank
Support
you.
Drollet.
All right, I'll take that and the correction. Do we have, I think maybe Bill Rodella. Is Bill on the line, or is it Ernest? And any...
Yeah, hi, Bob. I am on the line, although I'm prepared to speak on the Health and Community Services item next, not on 6A.
Right, okay. Can any of our staff tell us, since I can't see, if Bill Rodella or anybody from the medical examiner's office might be here?
Hi, my name is Gretchen Tarabeshi. I am the interim manager for the medical examiner's office. On the phone.
Mm-hmm. Would you like to give us an update on what you're asking for here?
Well, what we're asking for, sir, is our volume of cases has increased, and we do feel that it is a valuable asset to have a second removal company on board with our office. We always want to make sure that when we handle the public, we want to make sure that they're given the utmost care and respect. We've had some issues in the recent past, with some time management with our current removal service. The response time has been delayed, which means we're delayed at the scene. The officers are delayed at the scene, waiting for them to arrive. So we do want to open this up for another company to come in. We still have to work out the logistics when it comes to having 2 companies on board. At this time, we're thinking of possibly doing an alternating schedule, so to speak, depending on the cases for the day. If we have multiple cases, start with the original removal service, have them respond to the first scene, and then go to Paradigm, let them respond to the second, and then back and forth, back and forth. But we do feel that it is necessary to have a second removal company on board at this time.
Okay, so is this to be split equally then, or is this like a backup company? It sounds like you're going to talk about splitting them equally.
This is Bill Rodella.
Yes.
On the call.
Oh, hi, Bill.
Oh, perfect. I'll let Mr. Rydella take over as well.
Great.
Sorry, I had some trouble getting on the call. My Google Meets did not work. So I wasn't able to hear what has been presented so far, but the second, because of the increased work in our medical examiner's office, We believe it's time that we have a second vendor in place as a backup and also appropriately respond to situations where we have multiple scenes that need to be responded to, and also for large-scale emergencies where we may need to respond to multiple transports during critical times. We currently have Dignified as our current vendor, and they are under contract. We believe we need a second company. Paradigm Removal was our second lowest bid when this was bid out in 2019. And we need them as a backup and also to support our multiple death scene where timely response is important and critical. And so we know our current vendor has had a couple of situations where they had some difficulty responding in a timely manner. So we want to have a second backup. We have adequate funds in the medical examiner's budget to support our removal services. And we can, again, the work will be divided between the two vendors. But again, this vendor is going to be primarily used as a backup for our existing vendor. So
Okay,
we're asking that the contract is approved.
Sure. I have a couple questions, but we have a couple commissioners on the line first. Commissioner Kleinfeld.
All right, the first question is, I'm assuming it's for up to 92,000 as opposed to for 92,000.
Correct.
Okay, because the resolution did say for amount of 92,000, so it's for up to 92,000. And then the second question is, if we have increases as a result of COVID, wouldn't this be an eligible expense with the CARES money? Hello?
I mean, that's a possibility, Commissioner, that we could use CARE money. Again, that's something that we can look into and consider for the rest of this year to support additional. There hasn't been additional costs. This is the amount we have budgeted in the general fund for this. But again, we can look at diverting some of these costs if possible. They could be used under the CARES Act money, but that's something I can check with Steve Smeagol.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I was going to say, if you could check with Vicki on the cost from August 1 to December 1, you might be able to recoup some of the money back into your budget. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Drolet.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Bill, for the explanation. Just real quickly, do you think the current company that has not been able to respond as quickly as we would like, are they to the point where they're in violation of the contract? Should we replace them with this new company entirely? Would that save money, or are they not really in violation of their contract, just not performing to the level we would hope?
As Gretchen mentioned, and as I became aware, there's been a couple of examples where they did not respond in a timely manner. Dr. Spitz has had contact with the company, so we are continuing to review their performance. But regardless of that, we need to be looking at a second vendor in case of emergencies and in case we have continued or additional performance issues. So we've heard good things about Paradigm. I made some contacts with a couple of funeral homes. So depending on performance and amount of work, again, this agreement is looked at on an annual basis. It's bid out every 3 years, but we review this on an annual basis to renew these contracts.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Drolet. Bill, I just, have you guys been looking into this even before COVID? Because I'm guessing that COVID probably hasn't had that much of an impact on this. At least recently, I haven't heard that. So is this something we've been kind of looking into for a little while?
Yeah, Commissioner, this has come up in the past. We've looked at having more than one vendor on contract. I do believe at one point we did have more than one contract, because we did use Heritage Service when I first started with the county. We had a couple of vendors doing this work, so it's not unusual that we have more than one contractor.
And is there a minimum? You said it says up to 92, but are they guaranteed a minimum, or how does that work?
No, they invoice by the amount of work they do. 92,000 is the amount we have in our budget. So whether we have one vendor or 5 vendors, we don't exceed the amount budgeted in the general fund line item.
Okay. All right. Thanks. I don't have any other speakers on this item, so we have a motion.
Chair Smith, Chair Smith, if I may. Hello.
Yes, you may. I don't see your name on there.
I'm trying to get online here, but every time I hit my permission to speak, I get a withdrawal request. I get a red flag up instead. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. So I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I do have some questions if I may.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, Bill, Joe Romano, Commissioner Romano. This contract we have with this company now that you're speaking of that you want to add on, you said there was a couple of incidents where it wasn't done in a timely manner. I'm trying to figure out, does a couple of incidents not being on time justify $92,000? Can we do it on I don't know how they do it. Is it per body basis? I mean, is there something you can contract per body basis? If for a couple of incidents where they were late, and I'm repeating what you said, there was a couple of incidents, does it justify $93,000? It doesn't seem like, it seems like we could, I don't know how to do this, but maybe penalize Dignified for being late, other than going up into that you have in your funds already and going for $92,000, plus the fact that you could look at this COVID thing and see if there's money available there also. I think we're jumping, personally, it's my personal opinion, I think it's jumping the gun a little bit, allowing this money to be spent in this manner. Just my thoughts. Thank you, Chair.
So can I answer for Mr. Rodella? We just talked about that. It's up to 92,000, but it's a per incident cost up to 92,000, and he is going to check on the COVID availability.
And Chair Smith, can we get how much is per incident?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Currently, for hospital removals, the services are around $150 per removal. Excuse me, other than hospital. So when they do a home removal or a scene removal, it's $150, and it's $105 for a hospital site removal. So when they bid, it's based on hospital site removals and then scene or residential removal, and that's how they're paid. They're only paid by the amount of work they do.
Thank you, Bill.
Mr. Chair, you recognize. Thank you. Just a clarification, based on Commissioner Romano's concerns, we're not appropriating $92,000 additional dollars. That's how much has already been appropriated and you've already been approved for. All we're doing is allow another vendor to receive some of those already appropriated amount of money. Is that the correct interpretation?
That's correct, Commissioner.
Okay, that helps, because I think some people thought we needed to add $92,000 to what we already budgeted. We're not adding $92,000. We're just reapproving the same amount of money that's been approved, but allowing 2 vendors to access, to be paid out of that instead of 1.
That is correct.
Thank you.
The 2020 budget has $92,000 in the general fund line item.
Thank you, Commissioner Drulette. You cleared it up for me. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, I don't have any other speakers, and we have a motion on the floor. So, commissioners, please vote.
That motion passes 10-0.
Thank you. Item 6B, budget amendment for the Health and Community Services, an increase of the special projects for the census of $20,000. Can I get a motion to move that to full board?
Motion by Romano, move it to full board.
Support from Kraft.
Thank you. And I know we are
support, Carabelli.
You're on the line, so the floor is yours. At least I know you were on the line.
Ernest, you're still muted.
Hello.
May need to tell him to star 6 if he's on the line.
There you go. I think you're
It
up.
just said Ernest has left the meeting.
Oh, it looks
He's
like he
back.
just joined our meeting again. Ernest, are you there?
Okay, sorry about that. I bet you can hear me now.
We got you. There you
Okay,
go.
good.
Thanks. The floor's yours.
Sorry about that. This is just a request for additional funds to support our census activities. As you may know, Macomb County has an outstanding record for the 2020 census. Right now, across the nation, the national average is 65%. Michigan is at 70%, and Macomb County is at 81.3%. We have retained our excellent rating within the state of Michigan. Michigan has done well within the country, and Macomb County had a special distinction of being the #1 response rate county for the census regarding large counties. That is, any county over 500,000 people or more had a special ranking category, and Macomb was #1 in that. So we have been doing an outstanding job through Marilyn Lane and the Office of the County Executive. We were able to secure $100,000 from the Michigan Municipal League, and we secured an extra $20,000 from the Community Foundation of Southeast Michigan. Since the beginning of the census period, we've been operating with those external and philanthropic funds. And as we've concluded our census push and we're here in the final month, we need some additional funding to continue our efforts and finish it out strong. So that's what the $50,000 request is for.
Ernest, for some reason on our sheet it says $20,000. Am I missing something? Ernest?
Yeah, that's interesting. I know we had originally put it in for 50. I can have.
You know what? I'm sorry. It's wrong on the agenda. It's correct in the actual recommendation sheet. So let's just make sure that no one has a problem with the motion being to recommend the $50,000, not the $20,000.
Yes.
All right. So the motion makers, can you let me know that you're fine with that? If you remember who made the motion.
It's fine with me.
Okay.
I believe I supported it, and it's fine with me.
All right, great. Ernest, I don't have anybody speaking here, so thank you. Commissioners, please vote.
Mr. Chair, I did push the button there. Sorry.
I don't know why we're having such trouble. I can't. Oh, there you are. Maybe I'm having trouble. All right.
It's all right. From the backup material, it wasn't really clear to me whether or not we are appropriating these funds out of like our general fund, or this is a transfer some other previously appropriated census spending. So is this new spending of $50,000, or is being transferred from one area of the census appropriation to another?
Yeah, well, it's a little different because originally, the county executive had made a commitment to support the census, and we were working on some budget items for that. However, once we had our advocacy and lobbying in the state of Michigan secure that $100,000 from the Michigan Municipal League, and once we had received the extra $20,000 from the Community Foundation of Southeast Michigan, we hadn't formally dedicated county funds to the census. And up until that point, we had been spending out those external funds. So there actually was never established any funding pot for the census because the county was operating on those external funds. And so that's why this is coming to the board late, because we were continuing to use those external funds. And this will be the first dedicated pool of money that the county has contributed toward all of our Census 2020 efforts this year.
Thank you. I don't know, Mr. Chair, whether Steve Schmiegel or anybody from finance is on the line and can tell us whether or not we had any money appropriated in the budget that was approved for the census that we haven't tapped, whether above or below that. Sounds like we were below it as we haven't expended any, but I don't know if anyone from finance is available.
I'm not sure if there's anyone on the line from finance, Leon, but I know this is being forwarded to full board, so we can certainly get that answer by then.
Okay. Well, I appreciate we can get an answer by then. Look forward to supporting it. It just seems that we have done so well responding as a county that I wonder at what point will we not need additional funding. I mean, if we're on the lower end, we'd be asking for more funding to boost things up. And if we're on the higher end, we seem to need more funding. But the way it was explained, it sounds like there just hasn't been any funding coming from the county at this point, and I don't know if the other funds that were provided to the census were considered adequate at one point, but they just didn't end up being that way.
Yeah, I'm happy to speak to that. We were just watching and waiting. Originally, we had put together a budget for the census back in January and February. And of course, when COVID happened, that really adjusted a lot of our projections. So we worked with both of our funders, the Michigan Municipal League and the Community Foundation, and they were very understanding of the uncertainty around our projected budget. We had a lot of community events planned in March and April and May, and we had to adapt those. A lot of that reduced the cost. In other ways, we've come up with new creative and innovative solutions to adapt to community outreach during times of COVID. So that was one of the main factors of this delay. Was it was hard for us to project the spending based upon our initial plan and then the COVID contingencies. So we have been watching it. And the county has been giving a tremendous amount of in-kind support, both through the Office of the County Executive and the Planning and Economic Development Department. They have been a lot of support.
That's helpful to know. Did you know if the county originally had appropriated a certain amount of funding for the census or not? It sounds like they did, but it hasn't been tapped yet. Was there an amount originally approved?
I'm sorry, I do not know that. Steve would have to answer that from finance.
Okay, that's all I really wanted to know. Thank you very, very much.
There we go. Sorry, everything got a little confused. I don't have any other speakers here. Let me check again. I don't see any other speakers. So again, thank you, Ernest, and commissioners, please vote.
That motion passes 10-0.
Thank you. Item number 7, correspondence. We have A through
Move
F.
A through F in their entirety.
There we go. We have a support for that.
Support.
So I have support. I have motion and support. I believe Phil's going to talk just for a second on 7A. So,
yes,
Kraft.
thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to mention item A really quick. I had Patty email you all this same correspondence last week. The Community Mental Health Board about a year ago put together a task force for an authority to determine whether or not it was viable or not. Last week, that task force came out with the recommendation to become an authority. We are now discussing it at the Community Mental Health Board, and there will be, a better presentation coming forward. We're just working and talking through it at the CMH board. I just want commissioners to be aware of what's going on, where we are in this process, because ultimately at the end of the day, it is our decision. We can get recommendations from the task force and the CMH board, but we put together the resolution for becoming an authority or not. So I'm just trying to get all the commissioners as much information as possible throughout all this. And I know our CEO would be happy to come and present as this moves along, but I just wanted to point that item out and make sure you read it. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to myself or the CMH CEO, Dave Pankatai. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Oh, wow. We have some questions. Commissioner Haw, or speakers at least. Commissioner Haw.
Thank you, Chairman. Phil, very briefly, I read the document. I couldn't ascertain the inherent value or proactiveness of becoming an authority. Maybe you could give us a brief synopsis.
Sure, real quick. This basically came about last year because of the budget struggles that CMH was having, and there's discussion of the executive's office not signing the PIHP contract with with Community Mental Health, because basically what happens if the CMH has a budget deficit, the county would have to cover that deficit as of right now. If it breaks off to an authority, it's on its own. So the major discussion we're having right now is with, what the changes would be for the people we serve, for the providers, and for the staff. So that's mainly what the task force was tasked with. finding that information out. And I know Dave has pretty much all of those answers. So if you have, more specific questions, he can help with that.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Kleinfeld.
Just the heading in this, we're pressing forward with the authority. Here's what you should know. Who did this all go out to, given the fact that it's our decision and it hasn't come to us yet?
I believe that went out to the CMH staff, and I distributed it through Patty to us. I believe the executive's office has it, but I'm not 100% sure of what the full, disbursement list was. But I know there's been a lot of concern amongst the CMH staff, and the CEO wanted to keep them as up to date as possible. And I wanted us to be as up to date as possible. So I just brought that along for us to take a look at as well.
I guess probably what my question was, when we say we're pressing forward, who is the we? Is the Community Mental Health Board seem to be on board? I know you said you were having discussions. So who's the we?
Yeah, I think that was from the task force that was put together, because there was a recommendation from there to move forward on it. And I think that's where that wording comes from.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I don't see any other speakers on this, so thank you, Phil. Any other speakers to any other of the items under correspondence? Okay. Oops. I almost clicked right out of this too soon. Item number, we're going to close. We have a motion, so let's vote for item 7A through F.
That motion passes 10-0.
Thank you. Item number 8, new business. Any commissioners with new business? Any commissioners with new business, please speak up.
Mr. Chair, I have something real quick.
Go ahead.
It's my mom's birthday today. I just want to wish her a happy birthday. I can't tell you how old she is, but
all right. Happy
birthday, Mom. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. I did something to my screen here, so hopefully I can stick with this. We're going to close new business. Item number 9, public participation. Any members of the public wishing to speak, you have 5 minutes on any item or any topic. Please press *6 to unmute or type into the chat box that you'd like to speak. We're going to go with number 1. We're going to ask again, any members of the public wishing to speak in public participation, please press *6. And third and final time, any members of the public wishing to speak? Hearing none.
Chair, Michael, would you stay on the line? I'm sorry, Chair. Michael, would you stay on the line once we adjourn, please, for Romano? Thank you, Chair. Sorry.
And was that a motion to adjourn, Commissioner Romano?
Yes,
no, this is a motion to adjourn. Well, then I'll second.
Oh, no, that's a support from Bill Lett. All right, please vote. And meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.